Welcome to My Daily Thread. It's a great little place to get a snippet of wisdom from the yoga and the meditation masters to start or to end your day. I'm Chef Lichty. All right, I'm back. So welcome to the week. You know, last week we were talking about the second chapter 2, verse 10, which is the subtle states of the kleśās are destroyed when they dissolve back into their primal source. And I was saying, that it's actually a little bit of a philosophical point, and I'm, sometimes not that good with these deeper philosophical ideas. So you know how it goes for me. I, consulted my philosophical source, ChatGPT. Okay, ChatGPT, what's the deal? Give me some talking points on the Yoga Sutra 210. And, ChatGPT is sometimes pretty good, I got to say. I'm actually quite impressed with it. It helps me formulate my thoughts. Let's just rewind for a second. You understand the kleśās, right? They're these mental afflictions. We talked about that ad nauseum for the last couple of weeks, really. But these obstacles, ignorance and ego and attachment and aversion and then the fear of death, they can be grossly active, right? They can be hyperactive, or they can be subtle, almost dormant, and, kind of probably on a spectrum in between those things. What's really important for us to understand is that superficial solutions aren't going to help this. It's not like we're going to be able to chant 3 ohms and be like, oh, Om Shanti Shanti, let's get rid of our kleśās, or cleanse our chakras or something and get rid of our kleśās. That's not how this works. This is deep stuff that's embedded into our whole framework for understanding reality. The combination of Kriya Yoga, Tapas Svadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhana, helps to get some of these kleśās under control. But it does that by moving us to these deepest levels of meditation and understanding and deep absorption with who we are, really getting us to the nature of who we are. When we think about it, that ignorance is the root of our suffering. We're misunderstanding reality. Then we throw in the ego there and we get that identification with the false self. And then, of course, the clinging to pleasure, avoiding the pain or the discomfort or the intensity. And then that deep-seated instinct for survival, abhinivesha, fear of death. These kleśās are deeply rooted in our humanity. And so when they're not visible and they're not super active and you're like, oh, that's that guy's ego, or that's like someone in addiction always going after pleasure, then they become very persistent, but they're very subconscious. It's probably, when we're dealing with kleśās, very similar to when we're weeding, in a garden. You don't just blow over it with the lawnmower. You do that a few times and then the weeds come up thicker and more full. We don't cut them off at a superficial level. We have to pull them out at the root. And that's what this whole idea is about. And really, if you go back to the very beginning of chapter 2, that's where we talk about tapas svadhyaya ishvara pranidhana. That's that Kriya Yoga, the Kriya in the active life. That tapas, develop the heat, develop the disciplines. That svadhyaya, self-study, that deep self-inquiry will help us understand them. We can't simply avoid negative emotions. That's not enough. We need to trace negative emotions back to their source. We need to dissolve them through true, deep, purifying wisdom, and then go after that goal of yoga, which is to deeply understand ourselves. We all kind of know that unresolved trauma and deep-seated fears, they influence our behavior, whether we recognize it or not. And how do we get out of that? Well, you have to cultivate self-awareness and mindfulness and detachment. And then eventually we break the repetitive patterns of our suffering, and we break those repetitive patterns in our life. And tomorrow we will talk more about 211. All right, friends. As always, thank you for listening. Om. Peace out. And don't forget, we are working on February 2026 for more time in San Pancho for some retreats, taking all this wisdom and enacting it, putting it into our bodies. Mark it on your calendar. Peace out.